Hey y'all, gonna shoot another garden tour because there's a lot of progress going on here and just wanted to share. Nacho. Oh, well, just walk right through. That's fine. This is Nacho. He's a good garden kitty. So I posted on Facebook a while back that I have weeded my cabbage row, or brassicas row, I should say. And somebody pointed out that the beginning of this row still had plenty of weeds. This is not weeds. This is actually turnip greens. They make a great companion plant for cabbage, and some of them are starting to get a little thick at the base. I don't know if I'll actually get any turnips because of how closely I sowed them. I mean, there's still plenty of weeds here, but I mean, it's just tiny plants here and there, so it's fine. Cabbages are doing great. Some of them are kind of starting to actually curl over themselves. We'll see if we get anything. I know it's gonna get hot soon. And I actually just weeded this strip all the way to the middle of the broccoli over there. Again, excuse me, sir. And I planted beets because they're another good companion plant for brassicas. Here's something I was excited to show y'all. This is a kohlrabi. It's a type of brassica related to cabbage, but instead of the leaves curling over themselves, they form a bulb at the base. And you just break off the outer leaves, and then you can chop that up and eat it just like coleslaw. Cook it just like a cabbage. I finally got one tiny little broccoli head forming. This is Waltham 29 broccoli. I'm not sure if it'll get bigger. I've never actually successfully grown broccoli, so we will see. It just breaks my heart. I can't bring myself to break off these flowers, even though this sprouting broccoli has gotten out of control and all this wind lately has knocked a bunch of them down. I sowed some more beets right there too and pulled off some yellowing leaves. I'll just lay them down and they'll break down in place and hopefully help to keep the weeds away. But these are seed pods, and what a lot of people don't know is you can eat them. For pretty much all brassicas, when they go to seed, if you break the seed pods off, they will actually taste like whichever brassica they came from. So this tastes like broccoli. And you can actually pick these, and I mean, I would wait till they get bigger than this. Like the one that I ate was a good size. You can pick those and put them in salads. You can saute them if you want to. If you can't get brassicas to grow properly, that's a way to get nutrition from the plant, even after they go to seed. And you can actually do the same thing with radishes. Here's one that's fully seeded. And I'm probably gonna let some of these dry on the plant and then save seeds for next year. Here's some more cabbages. They're pretty small compared to my other ones, but they actually feel solid in there, so they're heading up. Maple came to say hello and steal something out of the edge of the garden. That's her favorite activity while I'm out here. Here's my Chinese cabbages, doing really good. I worry about the pests. I'm not sure what's doing this because I've never actually seen anything on them. If anybody knows what kind of bug leaves this damage, let me know. I've seen no cabbage butterflies out here, no worms. It looks like some of them got a little sunburnt, I would say. But the centers of them are still pretty intact. So we're gonna pull these outer leaves off anyways. We won't worry about those. That one looks really good. These two, well, three beautiful colored plants are Brussels sprouts. Something I did not know until recently is the Brussels sprouts actually grow at the base of each stem. So as the plant gets taller, you break the stems off and it puts all its energy into these little sprouts. They're a pretty reddish color. I've planted some mint in pots all along my garden. There's some on that side too. A tip about mint, if you haven't heard yet, it rambles. Let's see, there's not any on this plant, but they send out little runners that go along the ground and it spreads like crazy. So if you plant mint in ground, you're gonna end up with a huge patch of it. So I put it in pots, and it has a dual purpose. Obviously I'm gonna be picking it. You can make tea with it, you can stick it in your water, but also mint and lemon balm and things like that help deter mosquitoes. Lemon balm specifically actually has more of whatever compound is in citronella that deters mosquitoes than the actual citronella plant. So that's cool. Over here adjacent to the garden, we've got some ginger coming up that my mother-in-law gave me. Here and here. This bed still needs weeding. All of that's weeds. It's all gonna go on the compost. Going to plant my peppers here probably tomorrow, not today, because it's going to get down into the 40s again tonight, and they don't like temperatures below 50 degrees. So gonna hold off on that. But here's my Swiss chard. It's so pretty. Somebody asked me how you're supposed to cook this stuff. You cook it like you do any green. When I cooked some the other day for supper, I cooked it in butter, and I chopped up the stem separately because the stem is a little bit tough. So you dice the stem, and then you cut this up like you would, break it into like 1-inch squares. And then just saute it in butter with some onions. It was so good. Here's my radishes. They're still working hard. And here I've got celery. I need to thin these because they're not gonna do anything. That's a weed. They're not gonna do anything if I leave them close together. I think they need more water too. My potatoes are looking beautiful. We really need to hill them up some more, but we don't really have access to more dirt. So what we're gonna do is we are going to get some pine straw. You can use leaves, pine straw, regular like hay straw, as long as you know it hasn't been sprayed with anything. And you keep hilling it up. People say you can keep hilling it up every 2 weeks until it blooms. So we're gonna hopefully get some more potatoes off of this if we can hill it up in time. Onions are doing great. I actually weeded this row the other day. Some of these, I think I needed to separate them before I planted. Like, these are shallots, and they've got like multiple stems coming off of it, and there's an onion that's got 2 coming off of it. But they're looking good. My leeks are looking good. The tops, you can actually tell a difference now because the leeks have skinny leaves, whereas the onions are rounded. So that's cool. But I came through here and weeded, and then I just, somebody called it chaos sowing. I just sprinkled carrot seeds and watered them in. because apparently carrots are very good companion plants for onions, and the onions help deter any pests that would bother the carrots. Planted dahlia bulbs on the ends of several of our rows, so they're coming up good now. There's another one over there. Here's my tomato row. I think it's gonna be tomatoes, and then I've got marigolds on this side. I need to come through here and weed this row. And basil on the other side, and I might plant some more companion plants here and there. The way I'm gonna grow these is once they get about this tall, I'm gonna start tying them to this trellis. And instead of using a cage, because most tomatoes are actually not fit for tomato cages. They get too tall. So this is an easier way to trellis them and keep them in check. My nasturtiums are blooming. Look how beautiful. I think that one's on its way out, but still beautiful blooms. And the flowers and the leaves on this are actually edible also. A lot of people put them in salads. They have kind of a peppery flavor. Getting the middle beds fully prepped now. I've still got more weeding and hoeing through here. We've already spread compost once, but we're gonna put a second layer on top because we got a different kind of compost that I think is better quality. These tomato cages are actually for snap peas. They don't get as tall or as long as pole beans, so if they grow, which I know it's a little late for them, they should have just enough space on these. And then I've just planted beans here. That'll be my Chinese noodle beans. And this row is gonna be beans and cucumbers all the way down. So I've got different kinds of pole beans, and then cucumbers about halfway through, between every T-post. The plants that you already see planted there, that's borage. It's another good companion plant, especially for cucumbers. It's very prickly. It's fuzzy. It's edible too. Not everybody eats it because it's an acquired taste apparently, but the bees love it, I've heard. So if these plants do good, I'll have bees all down this row. Got some tomatoes already blooming over here. They probably won't be able to do anything with the blooms until it warms up a little bit, but they're definitely happy where they are. Speaking of happy plants, I've also got strawberries and asparagus in bloom over here. I think we're gonna pull most of the earliest blooms off because they need to put more effort into putting roots down. Or at least that's what Boss said. I would like to just let them form the fruit. But the asparagus, I don't know if it'll focus on it. Looks absolutely crazy. Has all these little balls all over it, and then they turn into little bell-shaped flowers. And apparently the seeds are red and they look like little Christmas balls. So I'll just have little Christmas trees all up and down my row here. Yeah, you really can't tell, it's hard to focus. But that's my garden. Still in progress. We're gonna get some wood chips in as soon as we can find somewhere that has them and put them in between the rows. But it's definitely coming along great. Working in it as much as I can every day. Here's another pretty mint plant. And this one you can see is running over the sod already. It rambles. My solar lights turned on. means it's time to go inside. You want to close out the garden tour, Nacho?